live here in El Paso, Texas for once again another border trip down to our southern border. Welcome everybody, I am Brian Glenn and we are just on this side of the U.S. border. I'll set the scene here in just a second. Coming up in about 20 minutes from now, Attorney General Ken Paxton here at Texas and Attorney General of Missouri Eric Schmitt are scheduled to talk about and releasing potentially some hopefully some groundbreaking news that we can get a hold of our southern border here. We'll find out exactly what that is here in just a second. But I want to encourage everybody right now. I know as of lately we've had a little bit of suppression on our social media feeds. We want to make sure that this gets out there. As of course, the border is one of the most really highly anticipated and most important issues of our country right now. There's a recent poll had that most Americans across the board, it doesn't matter the race or the demographic, their biggest concerns right now is the economy and the border. And that's exactly why we're here today. So we want to make sure that we get this message out, we get this broadcast out to as many people as we can. If you're following us on Facebook, great, Rumble, YouTube, as well as we have a Twitter and our YouTube account as well. Okay, so if you don't have our app as well, go download it today. It's on our Apple and Android platforms. Go get our brand new app. Came out several months ago. It was actually trending in the top 5 for several days for the most downloaded app on the internet. So go check it out. Absolutely free, and you'll be able to watch this program wherever you're at. The last time that we were at the border, we were in McAllen, just south of here. Several hundred miles away. Very different scene there than it is in McAllen and down in Brownsville as well. Each point of the border has different scenarios that they're dealing with. Let me step aside, kind of show you what we're looking at here. Back over to your left, my right, is Mexico. And that is across the wall, and of course directly in front of us is New Mexico. So this is at a kind of a really interesting point on a map. This is a kind of a tri-tip area. We got Texas, New Mexico, and Mexico all coming to a point. Plus, there is a body of water here that it separates that land and where I'm standing at right now. And obviously, the border wall runs up and down this Texas border from El Paso all the way down to Brownsville. And that's been one of the feature points of really the last year or so is the immigration. And of course, we all know what happened. Really, it seems like on day one of the Biden administration reversing a lot of the policies that President Trump had put forth as far as remain in Mexico and really prosecuting people coming across the border. That has not been done ever since the Biden administration has taken over. Matter of fact, many portions of the border wall has, well, it's wide open. And we were down in McAllen and Del Rio area, and we've seen huge gaps in the border wall, allowing really mass immigration to flow in. We've all seen the video of the 10,000, 14,000 Haitians underneath the bridge there in the Del Rio area. And so that still is the case there. Now, what the Biden administration has done in a very slick way is they were able to control the optics on what the public sees from that standpoint. That's why you might have heard of these in the middle of the night type flights out of these border cities into places like New York City and other states around the country, bringing these kids. Now, they describe them as unaccompanied minors, and from many reports that we've seen, a lot of these kids are 17, 18, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. So they're not as what you would traditionally think as young kids, but nevertheless, that is a part of their plan to get these unaccompanied minors across to either parents, either, family members that could take care of them once they come in the country. So the optics down there has changed a little bit because we all know the scenes of 14,000 immigrants underneath a bridge. And let's just be full transparency. Nobody wants that for anyone. That is not the way that you should, it's not a humanely situation there. So I know they're trying to help, but the situation is out of hand, and there is more migrants coming up through Central America. I just talked to a border agent here just in a few minutes before we came on, and he was telling me that just last week they caught several people that were from Turkey, Romania, and other European countries. And what they're doing is they're flying into Juarez here, just across the border of El Paso. They're flying into Juarez, paying the cartels to basically escort them to the points, not as much behind me, but other areas here along the El Paso border area. And that's when they are simply just walking into this country. And at that point, they find a border agent and just surrender and turn themselves in. And that's kind of the game plan for them. And so who's making out on this? Well, the cartels are making out on this. They're making a ton of money on human trafficking, and make no bones about it. That is dangerous to this country, and it's dangerous to the people being trafficked as well. And we've heard reports. We were, down in certain parts of the border where a lot of fentanyl was coming in, marijuana was coming in, a lot of drugs pouring into this country. So we've got Eric Schmitt. He is the Attorney General of Missouri, is joining Ken Paxton here shortly, right behind me, to talk about and hopefully address a plan to curb some of that. And of course, we've seen the video. You might be looking at it on your screen right now, but we were down there just several months ago doing a border tour, and we saw huge openings in the border wall. We saw the construction material just on the ground. It's almost the fact that the workers got the phone call in the morning and said, hey, we're going to go ahead and not come back. Don't come back tomorrow. And that's what it looks like. So a lot of these materials that you see on the ground there are ruined. They've been out exposed to the elements. They haven't been well protected. They hadn't been put in place. And so that's exactly what's going on right now. We've got a team behind us that's setting up, getting ready to do all this. I want to remind everybody, we want to thank our good partners for not only freedom, but election integrity, our good friend Mike Lindell over at mypillow.com. So tune in, go to the website, mypillow.com, mystore.com. And as we deal with supply chain issues and products and shortages, you've seen what it looks like around the country, and a lot of retailers, not only just food, but when you go to the Walmart and Target and other department stores, you're seeing a shortage of items. Well, get a jump on the holiday season this year and go to mystore.com, mypillow.com, and go shop. And a lot of these products, as you know, are made right here in the USA. There's no need for supply ships. There's no need for a lot of the issues that we're dealing with right now. So if you go over to mypillow.com, mystore.com, but don't forget to put that promo code RSBN at checkout and get up to 66% off your entire order. Very important that we support Mike right now. He has been out there really fighting the good fight as far as election integrity, and now more than ever we need to step up and support him. So go to mypillow.com, mystore.com, put the promo code RSBN at checkout and get up to 66% off your entire order. So jump ahead of Christmas, buy some gifts. If you want to talk about a good night's sleep, go get them on MyPillow, and I promise you'll sleep like a baby on that. MyPillow.com, mystore.com. If you're just now joining us, welcome. We are live here in El Paso, Texas. Just on the other side behind me is New Mexico. We got Mexico off in the distance, and of course I'm standing in Texas, and this is a very pivotal point here in the immigration. We've had over 1.7 million immigrants pour into this country over the last year, and we've seen what we've seen how ineffective the Biden administration has been in terms of regulating immigration. I don't think you'll find a person out there that's not for immigration. That's how this country was built. We're proud of that, but we need to make sure that who's coming in this country are ones that need to be here, and the ones that want to basically do harm to our country, want to make sure we leave those individuals out. And how do we do that? Well, it comes with a checkpoint. It comes with an organized immigration process that we know who's coming in. If you look at what happened there in Afghanistan, thousands of people were put on planes, flown into U.S. airspace, and released basically on with no paperwork at all. It's almost a sight unseen. We're just taking somebody by their word. And so we are letting individuals in this country that could be problematic down the road. So this is something that affects everyone. If you're just watching us in the great state of Ohio or Michigan or North Carolina, and you think that the border crisis down here does not affect you, you're going to hear from these two gentlemen later that it does. The problems here on the border do go much further across this country, not only with the drug trafficking that's going on, but also when
told you, right?
I just learned about that yesterday.
Me?
I love the aqueduct. Saying that. Smells like home.
I wish the whole.
Oh, it's so gorgeous. I know. It honestly Wait. Well, I know someone takes a picture. Oh my gosh.
Scoot over more because Schmitt and KP are going to be right here. So you gotta scoot over this way. Okay. So we're going to send to the side of him, I think, like that. All right. Come. He has no people with him, so he'll have the troopers on his side.
They're literally safety down there.
Everybody's phone's on silent.
No, they're going to shut them.
Why are they coming in this way? Alejandro, come on, dude. You guys are sorry.
Hey, thank you.
Great to be here.
So am I starting us?
Yeah.
We ready? Well, thank you all for coming here. As you can see, we're in El Paso, a great city in Texas, with the border wall behind us. And the Attorney General from Missouri, Eric Schmitt, who's a good friend of mine, has come down to announce with us, and I'm going to let him say his own words, that we will be filing a lawsuit against the Biden administration as it relates to building this wall and the fact that Congress appropriated large sums of money and directed that that money be spent on the wall. Our lawsuit is about forcing that expenditure to be spent the way Congress intended. And the reason we care so much about this is it is having tremendously negative effects on our states. And I'll let Eric tell you what it's doing in Missouri, but obviously tremendous social costs, much higher crime. We've got the cartels on our border who are human trafficking and funneling people through here. As you know, these people don't get here for free. They have to pay the cartels. And as a result, Border Patrol and many of our law enforcement are busy dealing with a lot of people, record numbers of people. I think the numbers are up over 300% from just a year ago under the Trump administration. And that is forcing Border Patrol to spend a lot more time on more logistics as opposed to stopping the importation of drugs like fentanyl, which is killing people and will kill people all over the country. And so it is having tremendous social costs, but it also has tremendous economic costs for my state and for Missouri. And so we're having to spend a lot of money on healthcare, on law enforcement, on other types of programs for people that are coming to our state that we were not anticipating, and obviously we're not getting help from the federal government. And we're also having to spend a lot of money on border security. As you know, the legislature appropriated, I think it was $1.8 billion, much of it for building a wall. And so we're just here to say that we are very discouraged by the lack of care by the president, the fact that he has done almost everything he can do to make it more difficult for our border towns and for our border states and even for the entire United States as we've watched our immigration problem become a massive problem. And I would say it's the direct results of policies that they knew would do exactly what they're doing. And so I just want to finish my comments, and then I'll let Eric say what he's going to say, and just say to the President of the United States, you know, let's go, Brandon. We'll see you in court.
I mean, as always, It's very difficult to follow Ken Paxton. So, cosign. It's great to be here in Texas with my friend Ken Paxton, and this is the duo that brought you the Remain in Mexico lawsuit, by the way, that we took all the way to the United States Supreme Court and won, by the way, in a 6-3 decision. And so we're partnering again for this really important issue. I don't need to tell you down here the challenges that we're facing as a country. We've got, literally hundreds of thousands of people coming across the border, and it's estimated 400,000 in October. 1.7 million have come across that we know of since January. And this is all laid at the feet of Joe Biden. And one of the main reasons why we have this unprecedented surge in illegal immigration is the failure for him to build the wall that President Trump led on, that Congress appropriated money for. And I just had an opportunity to tour the southern border here with some Border Patrol agents, the brave men and women of the Border Patrol who do important, dangerous work. And it was eye-opening for me to see the rusting materials sitting on the ground that could very easily be put up to secure our border, all for politics by Joe Biden. I mean, he came in on day one and canceled those. He didn't cancel the contracts. We've paid for them. The work's just not being done. And when you think about the human toll, the men and women, the children who are being taken advantage of by the cartels, this is a serious humanitarian crisis. It's a national security crisis, and we've got to do something about it. And if Joe Biden's not going to do something about it, we're going to do it, and we're going to force him to do it. And let me tell you, as the Attorney General of Missouri, we've focused on human trafficking, human smuggling, human trafficking in Missouri. We've seen an uptick in that. And that's exactly what's happening here at the southern border. In fact, the Border Patrol agent that I was talking to, the networks that the cartels have, they extend to Kansas City. I mean, I didn't prompt him. He was mentioned Kansas City by name, that when they're bringing people over and taking advantage of people, that's exactly where they're headed, to places like Missouri. So all of the states are border states now. Not just Texas and New Mexico and Arizona. All the states are border states because of this unprecedented surge of illegal immigration that we have to stop. And we need to finish President Trump's wall. That's what we need to do. And one thing I think that's worth noting too, parts of the wall here started after 9/11, right? And it's been a hodgepodge. And we have the ability, with the $3.8 billion that sits there right now, unspent, to finish the wall. And not just the 18-foot wall, but the 30-foot wall. And it's a big deterrent. It would help stop this crisis that we see. So what is this lawsuit all about? There's essentially two big buckets here. One are the more procedural claims, right? That they violated the Administrative Procedures Act, that this decision was arbitrary and capricious to not move forward with the wall. And we make a lot of claims there. They didn't consider all of the things that are happening now. Now, I would argue, Ken would argue, that this is all on purpose. That you've got a president who really believes in open borders and amnesty. But the human cost, right? The cost to our states is dramatic. And we're here to tell Joe Biden right now, if you are not going to do your job, we're going to make you do your job. In this system of federalism, it's very important. And so the states are going to step into that gap and provide leadership. The second bucket here in the lawsuit are constitutional claims, essentially that this violates the separation of powers. Congress did what they were supposed to do to appropriate the money. The president has no authority to not spend that money now. And in fact, the take care clause, where he swears an oath on that Bible to faithfully execute the laws of the United States, he's not doing that. And that's what this lawsuit is all about, to get him to actually execute the law, spend the money that was appropriated. By the way, there's contractors that can do this work. We're standing here, right here, I learned that this was a group of folks on this part of the wall that proved that you could do that part of the wall in 9 days. Those are private folks. But this is, the federal government is supposed to be a government of limited powers, right? The states came together to decide what powers they were going to have. One of those limited powers was to secure the border. That's not what's happening. The people of this country deserve better. The people of Texas deserve better. The people of Missouri deserve better. And that's why we say to Joe Biden, we'll see you in court. Thank you very much.
So let me just say, Eric Schmitt, great Attorney General from Missouri, is actually below average height. So we're open to questions. Please keep them confined to the topic today. We can answer other questions later, and we're both available, or anybody else.
So, what do you think about the record numbers of illegal immigration this year? 1.74 here on the southwestern border, almost 2 million if you take into account the Canada report.
We'll kind of switch off here as best we can. I'll just say that I don't think this is a surprise to the Biden administration. The policies of Obama are very similar, and they were, as you watch the Trump administration deal with those policies and change them to policies that lowered the number of illegal immigrants significantly. When the Biden administration came in, they completely went back to the old policies and actually accelerated those. And I think they knew exactly the results they were going to get. And so I don't think this is a crisis. When we talk about being a crisis, it is a crisis, but it's a man-made crisis. It's a crisis that was invited, that I think is purposeful. And the numbers of illegal immigrants this next year could be over 2 million people, record numbers. They're already record numbers. And if we continue these policies, the consequences of this are going to be devastating for years and years and years and years. And we're going to lose people from COVID, because they are letting people go all over the country with COVID without vaccinating them, without testing them. And they claim, as they try to force people to lose their jobs all over the country who are U.S. citizens, and then they're going to let illegals travel all over the country and not let us know where they are and what types of COVID they have. And that just the incredible risk to our children as fentanyl is being produced by the Chinese, brought to the cartels, and then transmitted all over the country. Next question.
What's your message for Attorney General Merrick Garland, who early on Capitol Hill had no words when it came to ask, why haven't you prosecuted any of these people that have broken the law? He was a loss for words. What's your response to that?
It's time to enforce the law. And I will tell you that what we see happening at the border here, as Ken mentioned, is a confluence of incompetence from the Biden administration. But it's more than that. It's intentional, right? It's intentional. And I think there's two big, there's a bunch of things we can do to fight this, and we're both working on this. But the Remain in Mexico lawsuit was significant in the sense that we are back to, under Biden before the Supreme Court ruling, and now we have to go back to court to enforce that ruling, which is amazing that we actually have to, the states have to compel the President of the United States to actually enforce a law that the Supreme Court said is now the law of the land. Again, under President Trump, we saw the Remain in Mexico policy. Why is that important? Because that is the incentive for the cartels right now, because they know if they can get people across the border, they're just simply released into the interior of the United States. And with the Remain in Mexico policy, it takes that incentive away. So that's a big victory. Also, in talking to the Border Patrol agents, having a wall that's a big deterrent and prevents people from actually getting across easily is a big part of the solution as well. And when you hear them talk about schools, which are very close to this border, having to go on lockdown, okay, that is a public safety issue. And the Attorney General of the United States should be more focused on that than going after parents who are showing up to school board meetings who care about their kids. People have had enough of this. They want their country back. America wants its country back. And that's why we're here today.
Well, first of all, let me say, great question, and let me thank our DPS officers who are down here doing an amazing job. And the legislature has put a lot of money into this, and we have a lot of state police down here trying to help Border Patrol, trying to help Customs and Immigration with their jobs. But in some ways, we are limited by a case that you may or not be familiar with, U.S. v. Arizona, where the Supreme Court limited what states can do. And I don't know that they decided that case right. I don't think they did, but it puts us in a tough spot. But we're doing everything we can. Like I said, our legislature has put $1.8 billion towards border enforcement. We have the National Guard down here, and we're doing everything. I've talked to border agents numerous times. They want to do their job, but they're instructed not are my sisters and brothers from Texas. They're from El Paso. They love this state. They love this country, and they're here to stand with us to say, Mr. President, please protect us from the harm that you're allowing right now.
We'll take 2 more questions. Okay.
Why did you choose to come announce this here in El Paso rather than in the Rio Grande Valley, Del Rio, where there have been much bigger surges?
So one is I love El Paso. Second, this is along the border too. I've been I was in Del Rio 2 weeks ago. I was in the valley a couple months ago. I was in Laredo before that. So I've tried to move around to try to get a feel across the border what it's like. And so, you know, as I said, El Paso is a great city. I love coming here, but it's also a place that I hadn't been to as recently, and I wanted to come back and talk to the people here, and they've been nothing but amazing.
General Paxton, of the 27 Republican governors in the United States, how many do you think are willing to stand up and proclaim that Trump did win the 2020 election? We have the ample evidence is there, and we're sick of the overthrow. This has been an overthrow, and we expect actually all of you to stand up and proclaim this. With 50 Republican senators, or at least maybe 40 of them. Okay, it's time to do that. Take the bull by the horn. We won. We know that. This is an overthrow.
So
it's your job.
Let me just say that I agree with you. There's no 2 AGs that have done more on elections stuff if you go look at what's happening. But I want to keep it to border, and we can address other issues.
I understand.
Last question, border related, right there in the purple. Go ahead. And let's give him another chance.
Yes, sir. Here in El Paso, we've got a record number of stash houses. These are places that are used by criminal organizations to stash migrants. My question to you is, what is being done statewide to assist in the locating and the dismantling of these stash houses for migrants?
I was going to give you the last question.
Go, no, it's for you.
So, stash houses are clearly a problem, and one of the things that I've learned from talking to border agents and from talking to state police is that there are a lot of now U.S. citizens who are involved in the smuggling and involved in the process of moving people around and moving drugs around. And so it's becoming a network, which I'm not surprised that has been set up and being set up in a much broader scale, not just in Texas, but all over the country, because now there's a lot of money. If you just think about the people that we know about crossing the border, say 220,000.
Paxton laying out a plan, and he's going to sue the Biden administration for the stoppage of the border wall, and of course that is, he said it's been paid for. It's sitting there, and of course he stopped the contracts on that. Hang on, just give me 2 more seconds.
I want to tell you, I watch RSBN whenever I can. I watch the election audit and everything, and it was. I appreciate you going out there. And
that's great.
You look like you're a one-man show or something.
Today it is, yeah. Well, again today it is as well. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your work.
Thank you. All right. All right. Well, I want to apologize for that. We had a little bit of technical difficulties going into this press conference, but I want to see if I can get Attorney General Paxton, who's just next to us, to talk a little bit about what he talked about today, filing that lawsuit along with Attorney General Eric Schmitt for Missouri. Before we get to that, we want to thank you for watching us. As always, you can go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. We are viewer funded. We do have some great partners like Michael Liddell over at My Pillow, and he has been a true patriot in all of this. Ever since the election, he has really put his name out there. He has put his company on the line, and so it's time for us to help him as well. So go to mypillow.com. We heard the plan. People fly into Juarez here, just behind my shoulder, fly in, and then the drug cartels basically escort them to the border, and then they just walk across. It's a clear path. It's easy right now because large portions of the border wall are exposed, and of course the drug cartels and human trafficking is making them millions. And then once they get into this country, they simply surrender to the nearest border agent, and then they go along their way. And we've seen these midnight flights as well that's been taking place along the different airports here in Texas and going all across the country on these unaccompanied migrants. Let's see if we can get a few moments we can here. But I want to apologize earlier. Hey, it's hot out here. It's about upper 80s, and so it has an effect on your equipment. So that's why this camera today. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to tell you that I met you at CPAC. I'm the one that had the Bento Piñata.
I got you. I know exactly who you are. We're live on the air, by the way.
Oh!
No, come on and join us.
Sure.
So what do you think?
Well, my husband's also a Border Patrol agent.
Oh, wonderful.
So we get first-hand knowledge of what's going on in El Paso, and I'm so thankful that Attorney General Paxton actually came to El Paso because it's like the forgotten city. Sure. And El Pasoans are very conservative, and we want to make sure that the message gets out. I know that we have the Bento factor, and a lot of people think that El Paso is liberal or leftist. We're not. We're not. Like, look at my skin color. You can call me brown. I'm brown. I'm first generation, born in the United States, and there's absolutely nothing on the platform of the liberal party, the Democrats, that has been that aligns with me. This is actually Phil. Phil, that's my husband. He's the boyfriend.
As we're live here in El Paso, and of course just behind us.
That's correct. It's very important, especially if it's venture in our way of life. So I think it's critically important. In this area right here covers not only 2 states, 3 states, because you've got, let's say, 2 months, you've got 2 countries. So this intersection right here is very critical part. A lot of illegal immigration happens here. It also happens easily here in Western.
I was talking to a Georgia agent before we came on the air, and he was telling me about the number of immigrants he's catching.
Hold on. Time out. America. Immigration law applies to illegal aliens. These are not migrants. My parents are migrants. They came in. So please call them by their right terminology. It's illegal aliens. What you do is you change the law without changing the law. And I'm not okay with
just
that.
by using the words.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I'm glad it's kind of a word salad. I'm glad you corrected me on that. But we've seen them from other countries.
Yes. There's a lot of Cubans, as a matter of fact. I have a lot of ties in Ciudad Juarez, and of course they have a lot of Cubans that are being deported now, which is ironic because a majority Martha's is from Cuba. And it's crazy because now they're sending them back. Now, we have seen a number, I mean thousands, by the thousands being deported, but not the people that come from Central America, not the Haitians and not well, no, yes, the Haitians, but also the people that actually want to do us harm. And that's